Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contracts, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Kimberley Daly on the line, and she's a franchise coach and founder over at The Daily Coach. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, Kim, so I'm excited to get into today's topic. A lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, executives listening to this, and we're going to talk about investing in proven franchise businesses today. But before we do that, just to give us a little bit of context, tell us a little bit more about your company, The Daily Coach.
Okay, so when people come to me, Adam, they pretty much say, I'm in career transition or I'm looking for an investment. Maybe they know a little bit about franchising, don't know too much about. So I start to educate them about the benefits. I have a free process that guides people through a complete franchise investigation process in about 1 to 2 months so people can really confidently explore and make a decision that they feel very good about.
Man, I love this topic, and I love the thought process. And if I could go back to I always tell people this, if I go back to my younger Adam, I'd be like, Adam, just go buy into a proven franchise model. And I'm not saying this to be self-interested or interested in your interview. She's not paying me to say this, everyone, just so you know. But I really say that because when I think about all the pain and probably the 20 businesses that I started before this one that have failed, I think about, man, I probably could be maybe I like what I do now, and of course I couldn't have graduated college and said I want to be a podcaster when I grew up, right? Podcasts didn't exist, I don't think, at that time, so that's a given, but I just mean it could have been easier. So where do you want to start this topic, investing in proven franchise businesses?
Yeah, well, that's a fair statement. I mean, many people know the risks of starting a business, but what they don't understand is that those statistics that we all hear, those horrifying statistics that 90% of small businesses fail before their 5th anniversary, that is not a statistic that's owned in franchises. So the businesses that I'm bringing my candidates to have success rates that will be disclosed in their franchise disclosure document. So any business we would look at their historical track record, which has to be disclosed in this legal document. But the vast majority of the businesses that I've been playing with and helping them to grow over the last 18 years that I've been a consultant have success rates greater than 90%, 95%. I have some that are like 98%, and these are like 10, 20, 30-year-old brands. So
I love
the
that.
risks go way down if we're investing in the right franchise. Now, does that mean that people don't fail? Certainly doesn't mean that, right? We know the plan works, but what we don't know is, are you going to work the plan?
No, I get that, and I don't, and for a lot of people listening, I mean, there's always work, we know that. There's going to be work in anything. It's called being a business owner. We get it, but the point is that, for these really established businesses and models, and this is the cool thing about it is when you think about Little Caesars Pizza, whatever, it doesn't matter. Any a franchise that just everybody knows, it's that franchise owner, he or she didn't have to go in and decide what the pizza what the pizza formula was going to be. He didn't have to say what the store was going to look like what the branding is, the color palette, all these other things. And so when you think about that, that's sometimes it takes businesses years to figure that part out and what's going to work. I mean, our brand, we started out as Money Matters, Top Tips, because it was more of a money-centric show. Now we switched to Mission Matters because it matched what myself and my co-founder, our broader vision.
That took 2 years just to figure that out. So I'm like, if we bought it, like if whatever the business was, if you bought into what they were doing and the mission and obviously the ethics of the company, all that other stuff, then I mean, you can save time. Can you talk a little bit more about the time component and what it looks like to, and I know every franchise is going to be different, right? I get that, industry and other things like that, but just time component and like getting things going. Talk a little bit more about that.
Adam, it's such a great segue for me because literally what you just said is so true. When I talk about the real advantage to like what am I really buying when you buy a franchise? Well, you're buying a proven business plan. You're buying a relationship, right? Because you're partnering yourself with people who've already gone out there and figured it all out, as you said. So from day one, your time and your money is moving you toward profitability. So what you just said is, as an entrepreneur, you have to sit and spin your wheels and fail a lot to figure out what is the package, what is the product or the service that the market is ready for and the customer wants. So it's that creation process that costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. An entrepreneur could take 5 years to figure that all out. I can take a franchisee, and in 5 years, he can own 5 locations. Because from day one, he's buying into a proven business plan that he gets to start moving towards profitability from the beginning. He's not figuring out anything. It's already been figured out. He's just executing on the proven plan. So, and if you're buying a business where it's more manager run and the owner can be the CEO managing the manager, not working in it but working on it, and have a 3 or a 5-store plan, because that's where that wealth is going to get created, right, through the multiplication, through the scale. So franchising affords the investor that leverage from day one to have the vision to be able to build a much bigger business in a shorter amount of time. Does that make sense?
No, I love that, and it's and the good thing is that I think that is getting through to some people right now that are maybe in that in between stage of thinking, a lot of executives that are thinking about what their next step in life is. Maybe they're retiring early, or maybe they just think that they've had their run and they want to if they're going to be working this long, and that was my story. If I was going to be working this X amount of hours per week anyway, I might as well own the business, right? That was my thought process in the beginning, and I'm like, all right, so I left some of my one of the bigger companies that I worked for in the past, and I'm like, well, I'm going to be working anyway. I might as well own it so that at the end of all this, I might have a little bit more than I maybe wouldn't have. And so now looking back, I'm like, man, I didn't even know that it was an option, really. Just myself, I was like, okay, I have to have this idea. Like a lot of times business owners they have to have this idea or this invention or this other thing, and it's just not the case. Like there's a life. Your goal is to live a great life, to spend time with your family, to do all these other things, to make money, to make a good living, and to possibly do very well depending on your personal ambition in scaling. Right. That's the other thing about the franchising model that you brought up, which is the idea of scaling. Figuring out how to scale on your own when you're so it's like the normal steps of business. Okay, first, is this a product people want to buy? Then can we actually make money, stay in business? And now the next step, so the third step is really going to be, can this scale? Is this scalable, and is it scalable to my ambition? But with the franchise part, they've already proven all those things. So you can already know and have your roadmap. Can you talk a little bit more about the idea of a roadmap in the whole franchising process?
Yeah, exactly. So when you say yes to a franchise during the due diligence process, actually, before you say yes, I teach candidates what are the right questions. What should I be thinking about? Who should I be talking to? How do I put together a basic pro forma without getting too far down in the weeds or creating limiting beliefs by what other people are doing or, more importantly, are not doing with the opportunity in front of them? But how do we ascertain, what's this going to look like and what's the ramp-up going to look like? So I coach them through all of that. So when they say yes to the business, they feel very competent in the due diligence that they're doing, and therefore they can be confident in their final answer, whether it's yes or no. But during that due diligence process, we're also going to be learning from the franchisors about their comprehensive training program. Franchising has some amazing training program. I mean, that you do not have to come to franchising with industry experience in order to be the number one franchisee in a business, right? We need basic business skills, not widget specific. skills, right? If you're a salesperson, you're a manager, you run a good operation, I can take that and we can blow open that pigeonhole that you may feel you're stuck in corporate America and just bring you an opportunity to use those basic skills to go build that business for yourself. But we're going to learn about what it takes to go from a yes to actually getting open, training and buying equipment or finding real estate and how much support they offer. And you'll be able to validate with other franchise owners who've already gone through that opening period to see, not just like hear it from the franchise development director, but in the real world with other people who have all the same concerns as you had and, are as nervous as you probably are, and they've gone through it, and what was their experience like, and do they feel supported, and knowing what they know now, would they make this investment again? And so you'll be able to use that, we call it validation, from the existing franchise owners to really help to validate the decision that you're feeling you're going to make.
And for the audience, Kim's not lying. I know somebody who owns multiple tax franchise. I don't remember the name of the business, but he doesn't know how to do taxes. He knows how to run the business of tax agencies. So, and I talked to him. I'm like, "You're the tax business? I didn't know you went to school for accounting, or like, are you a CPA or this or that?" He says, "No, I own a franchise, and I scale and they train you." And he knows how to run the tax business, and because of that, he learned the business side of it. He probably makes more than most people that are CPAs and that did go to school for this, because they're busy working in the business and the day-to-day, whereas for him, he can't work in the business per se on the day-to-day because he doesn't know how to do taxes. So he's busy, he's working on the business constantly. So big difference there. Can you talk a little bit about those differences and how that opportunity kind of unfolds with this? Because I think it's a really interesting concept, and people, I know what I just said probably just now hit some like lights off on some people that are listening. They're like, wait a minute, how can you own a tax business if you don't know how to do taxes? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
You are 100% correct, and I would actually say that, look, one of the number one success factors in a franchise is following the franchisor's lead, which sounds crazy. Mm-hmm. You're buying a proven business plan. What do you mean, Kim? People don't do what the franchisor says? That's exactly what I mean, right? So when you know that you don't know, like you don't have an ego wrapped around like, well, this is how I do it, you're way more coachable. So I almost say to people, look, the more you know going into a franchise, number one, you're going to challenge the fees that you're paying, right? Not necessarily going to see the value. But number two, how coachable are you really going to be? You may be your worst enemy in trying to be successful in that business. It's almost better to go into like a new space, be coachable, be willing to learn, because you know that you don't know what you don't know, and learn how to do it their way. Now, to the point that you said about the example you gave, that you don't know what you're doing and the accountant can build a bigger business, that is 100% true. So this is what we see, and I'll pick trade industries like painting or HVAC. So we can take, in a trade industry that is franchised, the idea is that the owner is really building a sales and marketing company. So the trades guys are really good at painting the wall. They're really good at fixing my air condition, but they're not necessarily the best business people. And like you said, they're in there doing every job, so they can't really scale the business and make any money. We can take those basic trades, put the sales and marketing executive as the CEO of a brand like CertaPro, right? And then he and his sales team are going to go out and be bidding on multiple jobs, commercial and residential painting jobs every day, and then finding the best Joe Painter guy out there who's really good at his trade to come in and do the work. So the CertaPro franchisee, CertaPro being the largest painting company in North America, the average franchisee can do $1 million, can have a very, very big business, but he nor any of his, quote, employees, they don't paint anything, because they use contractors to do the work. So you can take a basic trade industry, bring professionalism to it, which greatly helps the customer enjoy the no offense to the trades guy, but a lot of the trades guys are they don't show up on time, or they're just notorious for like being challenging, and bring the business element to the business side of it, and then let the trades guys come in and do what they're good at, and it can be a perfect union for both people, the business person and the trades guy, because the trades guy can now go from sort of a feast or famine world where he's doing a job and not quoting other jobs to now he can jump from job to job to job following that franchisee because that franchisee is winning new jobs every single day. Make sense?
That's awesome. So, Kim, that being said, if somebody's listening to this and they want more information on the Daly Coach or connecting with you and continuing the conversation, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
My website is thedailycoach.com, and that's D-A-L-Y. It's a little play on my last name. So thedailycoach.com. You can also find me at LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm very active on those two social media platforms. But my website, Adam, I have a library of topics, videos on business coaching, franchising, to understand fees, to understand the relationship, to understand what you're actually buying, what you're getting, all of the things that as I've traveled around the country as a speaker to many, many audiences over the last 18 years, the questions that I get, the frequently asked questions, I've turned into video topics so that people can get up to speed very quickly. Check that out. I have hundreds of testimonials from all the people that I've been blessed to help, those who've said yes and those who say no. Everybody that I invest time with learns something. That's what I'm here to do. And so I ask even those people who it didn't work out for to write a quick testimonial, so you can check those out, as well as so many other resources on my website, thedailycoach.com.
Fantastic. Well, Kim, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great stuff you're doing over at the Daly Coach. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review in the Apple iTunes store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Kim, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.